Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Loot Drop Podcast. Joining me today is Danima. She is a friendly gamer that we've been playing video games with Danima and her friends for a few months now, and we met them through Destiny 2 a while back, but they've been really good friends and a great time to be around. Danima, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Danima. Nice to meet you. Uh, I am a streamer just like Sunbro. We've done a few things together since we've met. A lot of Final Fantasy recently. We've been playing together. Um, but yeah, I have been streaming regularly for about a year and a half now, I think. And so hasn't been a super long time, but it's been fun. I think we've done a good job at supporting each other through since we've met each other and hopping on each other's streams. So it's been fun.
It's it's so different, like being a small streamer and networking, like within your community and your group of folks that you've like met streaming, right? And
Mhm.
it can be so weird to navigate. Like you could be like ending your stream and you're like, oh, I need to raid someone, and you go and you're like, you got like three or four people that you'd like to raid. Obviously you can only send it once, but then you have to like play the balancing act of like, oh, where are we sending folks to? Um, and also just like taking time. It's super hard to like take time to like go and watch other people stream. Like I don't know if you struggle with that, but like especially with like the additional work we've been putting into YouTube, like I literally just have like zero time to like go in like sometimes when I'm editing a video or something like that, I'll try to like pull up someone's stream, but like is that something that you've had trouble with in the past?
Yeah. Typically, after I'm done streaming, there's either nobody streaming or a bunch of people streaming. Usually, my go-to is to go to you for rating.
Hey,
But then I also feel really guilty whenever I only have like one person that is doing it, and I just like I'm gonna go raid you with one person who's
yeah,
probably
well,
also watching you already.
it's super important like when you're I think doing something like or especially when you're receiving a raid from someone else to just be appreciative. Like
Mhm.
I have seen clips of people being like, "You only came in here with one person." It's like that's not the vibe. Like that person, one person that watches that streamer like on a regular basis is their community, right? And they are trusting and sharing that with you, and you were just
Mhm.
like, "You're coming in." That's not a good take. That's I don't. Okay. So, what games have you been playing?
I've been playing mostly Final Fantasy and Teamfight Tactics. I kind of stepped away from Animal Crossing for a while, and came back into it.
Mm-hmm.
I am perfectly fine with using the with going forward and backward in time. I have no problem with that. Um, but something that I actually did for a long time is I downloaded it the moment that it was available. I bought it like immediately on the Switch, and then I literally played every day since then. And if I missed like a week, I would go back and play each day. And I did that all the way until the day before Thanksgiving. So that was like I forget what month it actually came out. I want to say it was like 5 or 6 months where I was literally playing every single day. Um,
What
and
kind
then after
of
that, I'm
boon
sorry.
does that? What kind of boon does that bring you in game to like log in and play every day?
It probably would give me some sort of an award after a year of doing it, but it also just is something that I was finding pride in. There are certain things that happen daily that you don't, it's randomized. So you don't actually know when those things are going to happen. For instance, the camel who sells specialty walls and flooring, he only
Mm-hmm.
comes it again is randomized. I don't really know how often they come. Sometimes he comes every week. Sometimes he comes once a month. I think it's not quite that randomized, but I don't know for
It's
sure
meant
how
to be
often
an
that
event though,
happens.
like when
Yeah,
he
it's meant
shows
to be.
up.
Yeah, it's meant to be a little bit of an event.
Okay.
So I just there because there's something different in the stores as well. Because there's something different every day, I really like to go and check those things. And so recently I went back all the way to the day before Thanksgiving on my Switch and
Oh my
started
goodness.
playing through every day again. And I'm in I think I only made it to December 29th or something like
That's so
that.
much still though. Oh wow.
Yeah, I have a long ways to go, and I have given up on trying to do every single day. I'm skipping like 1 or 2 days, but still, I'm trying to do at least like 3 times a week
Hmm.
to catch up with it. I have a lot to catch up
Well, it's
with.
like
But I'm getting
the way the game's structured. It's like actual night and day cycles, right?
there.
So
So I
like
have to go. I have to save it, close, go back into my Switch settings, and change the actual date and time on the Switch.
now, do you ever like if you're like are there no, I know a lot about that game is like collecting some of the like local flora and fauna and taking it to like Blather's museum, right, for like display.
Mhm,
Like that's the end game is like I think packing out his museum and then also
mhm.
getting the cosmetics to like do up your house and like make it the best it can be. And then how is there a limit to how big you can make your house?
Yes, I'm actually at that limit, and it is a large center room, two smaller side rooms, a smaller back room, a downstairs, and an upstairs.
Okay, so you can't like have like some sprawling McMansion that takes up the
No,
whole island.
no,
Okay.
and also it doesn't take out extra room on the outside. It only takes up extra room on the inside. Yep.
What kind of wizardry is that?
It's actually a TARDIS, by the way, in case you didn't know. Yeah.
Doubling back just a smidgen because I've not played it yet. What is Team Fight Tactics?
So Team Fight Tactics is made by League of Legends, and
Mhm.
I love League of Legends. I always suck at it, and I always will suck at it. There's never going to be a time whenever I will be
That's super fair.
even close to decent at League of Legends.
That's super fair.
Um, and I initially started playing it right before they started cracking down on a lot of the salt. So I it kind of ruined it for me in that way too. I
The
know that
when you
they've
say ruined it, do you mean like your experience with other players,
yeah, and
like
I
and
kind of
how they
got
were?
yeah, I got kind of a little burned out on the comments of how much I suck. They were
That's
all very valid comments.
yeah. That's still like
Yeah.
that's a bit of an oof, right?
I mean,
Like to
they've
just
fixed that a lot though. It's not nearly as bad as it was
well,
before.
it haven't they implemented a so I played League with Prezi. It's been a couple months now, but I played with him. Like we had a lot of fun playing that. I might have
Mhm.
to hit him up to see if he'd like to play that soon. But they have a thing that they've implemented in the game, I believe, where like you can basically commend players at the end of the match,
Mhm.
right? To like just to promote that like positive discourse rather than like focusing on the negatives.
Mhm.
Um, it's always interesting with games like team play games. Like that's a very team based game where like everyone kind of has their role and needs to like fit into their own groove for you to be successful.
Mhm.
Um, but it's always like kind of weird how like people will default to being negative rather than trying to be helpful in those situations.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't want to say all people. I don't want to like overgeneralize. But like that's I've definitely like I've less experience with like League of Legends and more with like Overwatch, and that can definitely
Mhm.
be like that. Like that can definitely get like pretty toxic pretty quickly. um, and then so we've both been playing a lot of Final Fantasy with the group. We've got a fair amount of us at this point, actually located on the same world server. So we were able to like actually get our like guild together and like start doing that.
Mhm.
Um, what level are you up to in Final Fantasy? Have you started unlocking like the extreme difficulty challenges and that kind of stuff?
Mm, I went through the little mini storyline quest to unlock it, but I'm only on like 54 or 53 for my uh
Your
I forgot
tank?
what it's called. My tank, yeah. And then for
You have
my
a
white,
warrior, right?
yes, a warrior on, and then for my white mage, I'm 52.
Oh, you're okay. So
So
you're leveling them congruently. Okay, that's a
yeah,
play.
kind of. I it's a lot easier just to be like, okay, you need a which one do you need more, a tank or a healer?
Hmm.
Okay, I'll do that one, and then I'm just kind of playing them both together. It's honestly more fun because I'm able to jump into groups wherever I'm most needed rather than be like, okay, guys, make way.
Yeah, that's fair. Um, I'm really looking forward once we get everyone in the group to have those trials unlocked. I'm looking forward to like as a group us being able to tackle some of those challenges
Hmm.
because like I feel like they're going to be a lot more fun playing with like a group of people rather than the like random duty finder.
Hmm.
Like the Shiva fight. I was telling Lightsaber I went through what was it like 5 teams. 5 teams I went through where I ran out of time. Like the duty ended because we ran out of time. That's how hard that fight was. I didn't complete it until the sixth group, and 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 again randoms like randoms only using text chat like completely random through Duty Finder, and we still we beat it. I think we had like 10 minutes left on the clock with that
Hmm.
sixth group. Like it is legitimately like a really hard fight to like not have
Hmm.
communication in. So I'm wondering what that experience is going to be like when like we can talk to the other tank and we be like, hey, take aggro, or like, hey, everyone group up here. When you can actually have comms and it's not just like everyone know what they need to do and please move there.
And even if somebody doesn't know what you need to do, it is so much easier to be like, hey, I need to be over here
Yep,
instead. It
yep,
is,
yep, yep,
oh my
yep.
gosh, so much better to have voice chat rather than just text chat, which I can't even, I'm not able to type fast enough to use text chat
Yeah,
typically.
I
I'm not a fast
always
typer.
bungle the text chat. Like I've got
Hmm.
so many spelling because I'm just trying to like smash the keyboard to like get the message out really quick.
Yeah.
Um, Lightsaber and I right now are he's a little bit ahead of me right now, but we've been racing to level 80, and
Hmm.
I'm trying to figure out once I hit level 80, I'm gonna do one of two things. I'm either going to switch over to like my healer needs brought up the most. I think I have an astrologian, and I like they're only at like level 32. Like it just started them. No, 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 no. That's not right. They're at like level 36, but still, I like just started them. And then I have a samurai at level 52, and again, I've just started that, so I've really been like focused in on like my one character, and I don't know if I want to level those other ones up first, or if I want to make my main character or it's all one character, so that's not a good way of phrasing it, right? But like,
Yeah.
if I want to focus on
Class.
my crafting jobs, because because Endwalker will be here in December, and
Hmm.
it's funny that that sounds like a really long time from now, um, but like I've been playing the hell out of that game, and like I'm like 2/3, maybe a little over 2/3 through the third expansion main
Hmm.
story, and my crafting is only at like level 20. I've not done anything with it, right?
Yeah.
But I need to do some research and figure out. I don't know where the best gear, because I'm pretty sure the best gear is crafted. Like I think you as the player, like at your max level crafting, can make the best gear. But then I also want to make time to experience like the current current end game stuff as I've heard it described as like the Alexander Savage raids, and I want to
Oh,
know. I have no idea. I have no idea what that's like. I have no idea what that is. I want to know though. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Um. Okay. So circling back and forward simultaneously. We talked a little bit about it earlier, but with Animal Crossing, and you and I were talking a little bit about it before we actually started recording here today. Um, but you were expressing some concerns with like they haven't like updated the game in a while. They're adding content, but they're
Hmm.
not bringing quality of life changes forward.
Yeah.
So like, what does that look like for you on your end? And then, I guess, alternatively, what would you like to see them start implementing along with those content additions?
So, um, honestly, because there's still a lot of content that I haven't actually gotten to play. There's a lot that I've watched other YouTubers play, but there's a lot of content I'm not to yet because I'm trying to go through every single week. Like the Mario one. That's the one I'm so
Wait, so is
freaking
there
excited for.
is there like a proper story that is like evolving over time? Because I've seen the
No.
Mario thing where like the pipes come up and you can like I think go down into them or something of that nature. But like, is there what does it mean to play
There's
through it linearly? Is it just you experiencing all the content?
Yes, there's no story to Animal Crossing. There
Okay.
literally is zero amount of story except for the one that you make concerning with moving villagers, interacting with the villagers, and things like that. It's kind of become more sandboxy than it used to be, which I'm perfectly fine with.
What did the
That
older games look
was
like in that light? Like
so
if they weren't sandboxy, were they more RPG like?
Kind of, yeah. So with older games, I haven't played all of the Animal Crossing games. The first one I played was the one that came out on the DS, the original DS. Um, and I played the crap out of that. Um, we only had one cartridge though, so my sister and I had to share the cartridge, and we could only play one at a time. Um,
Did you guys save a share file? I know that's something that
yes.
some folks did because there could be
Well,
like some contention there. Like if someone did something, you're like, why'd you get rid of that villager?
yeah, so we there you only have one village. You don't
Mhm.
have multiple different village on one cartridge. But and you only have one house on the DS version as well. I think there was no, you've only ever had one house, I think, until New Leaf. Not New Leaf, Horizon. Um but in the other ones, there would be like the house, and then there would be like an attic where your actual save beds were, and you could change those out. Most people didn't bother, but you laid down there in order to save.
Okay.
But you shared a house, you shared a village, you shared literally everything. So it
Did
is,
you share a
except
character?
for no, you didn't share a character.
So
You
you would
had
have
separate
your own
characters.
unique character. So there
Hmm.
would be like that. Well, I guess there would be like a dynamic where you'd be like, hey, I wanted to change out the floors in the house, or like, hey, I wanted to put up like this wallpaper or something of that, and it'd be like, nah, I don't like that. Don't do that. Do that.
Yep.
Do that. Like, did you have like how did you segment the space? Did you have like a room where you'd be like, well, hey, I'm gonna design this room and you can design this room, or like how would that work?
Well, because my sister was the older sister, she did most of the designing. Uh,
Playing the older
I,
sibling card.
yeah, I had my own bedroom that I, of course, made as punk as I could get away with. My little punk middle school self that loved the
Got to be
black
angsty.
and
Yeah.
oh yes, of course. Yeah, absolutely so angsty. But everything was like black and white checkerboard. The entire room. There was a design bedroom set that you could get that was all black and white checkerboard, and then I also
Just
made I
the
could
straight
never get
plastic
the
Vans theme.
oh absolutely yes. I was very very punk.
Absolutely.
I wasn't.
Absolutely. I think we all were like at that time. Everyone was a little bit edgy, right?
Of course.
Um
Uh,
so in the future, would you like to see them do things like allow you to make like I don't like a guest house or like cuz they added functionality in this one. Like you can visit other people's islands now. Now, was that
yes.
something that you could do in the previous games?
Yes. It was a lot more difficult then, but yes, there was
So they've streamlined
one
it.
version. Yeah, there's one version where you could, if you had the code, you could visit another island that wasn't somebody your friend. People would make islands that were really cool that you could go and visit, and you can even edit what the people would say whenever you visit them. And the only ones that I've actually looked at were horror themed ones, and those are freaking creepy, but amazing. Um, I never actually used that feature on I believe that was for the 3DS. But with the new Horizon game, you can have you can actually visit a random village if you wanted to. That is an option. And then you can also post your codes online and be like, hey, come look at my village. I put a lot of effort into it. There's also back in the middle of the whole pandemic, there was actually a museum that had put all of their actual artwork on display on an Animal Crossing island that you could go and look at for free. Like, that was an actual thing that they made. I don't remember which one it is. This was a while ago. I don't even know if that's really even available anymore. Probably is. I doubt they did a whole lot to it. But like that's actually something that you can do, and it's so freaking cool.
I wouldn't have expected that level of like immersion for the world, and it's cool that they brought that forward to for people to experience, because there's definitely like even if it's like a small subsect of that community, right, that's interested in engaging with that content. It's nice that someone was like, let me do this.
Yeah. Well, I think it was the museum themselves that they had somebody.
Oh, like
yeah.
Okay, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, there was actually quite a few companies that did similar things.
Really?
Yeah.
What other kind of things did they put together?
Admittedly, it's been so long
That's
that
fair.
I've seen all these. I don't remember all of them specifically.
That's super fair.
But back whenever it was like in the first 6 months, because the pandemic had just started and everyone was quarantining, there was just so much for people to do there that people had a lot of times to create a lot of absolutely incredible things. And they did. Like, there were people who were like, hey, let's have a business meeting. There were some Japanese executives that had said, hey, let's have a business meeting in Animal Crossing, and they legit did it. Like,
that's hilarious.
They probably only did it once just for funsies,
yeah.
The fact that they did it at all.
I wonder how much like while people were working from home, through and people are definitely still working from home, like some people, but when it was like everyone was working from home, I wonder how many people were like double lifing working from home and also like doing their like daily jobs for for Tom Nook in Animal Crossing.
A lot.
Probably, I would imagine.
A lot.
So like what, like, as someone, so I've not played enough Animal Crossing to like have an opinion, like, and we talked about that a little bit earlier, but basically like I've logged into the game, I have an island, I've caught a couple fish, a couple bugs, I got stung in the face by a bee, my eye swelled up, and I have a little, I don't have a house yet, I have a tent still, if that's any reference for like where I'm at. I think like I just got the museum. So I don't have necessarily like the perspective or like enough experience to say like what I would like to see brought to the game, but like as someone that has played a lot of that game, what additions would you like to see in the future, or what are some ideas that you think could make the game even better than it is now?
Well, to start, I want to say that they listened. I love that Nintendo listened to previous complaints of the game, and they added it to Horizon. For instance, you've always, I say always, for all the games I've played, you've been able to add pictures to the ground, and some people would create walkways using that. And it was super cool. And I love so much that they did that. And then they took a step further with the Horizon and made it so that they actually had pathways for you to paint on there that they already created there. And you could,
like they designed an actual mechanic into the game for you to make pathways rather than you having to like cobble something together for the visual illusion.
Yep. You still have the option to make your own pathways or download other people's pathways, but they actually made that an actual mechanic in the game, as well as being able to um, make your own like walk what's the word,
I,
water thing
like a
over
bridge,
water.
like you can do a bridge
Bridge,
over
that's the
water.
word.
I
You can
was I didn't know. I was like,
no,
I don't
you're
know if this
good.
is proper like American Sign Language, but I don't speak that anyway.
It's not. I don't know how to say bridge in sign language, I will admit. I could probably spell it out, but I don't want
It's fair.
to. But yeah, they have you could make bridges in the game previously, but now you have a lot more options for bridges as well as stairways. You can actually make little mini mountains essentially. You can make your own rivers. And you can do so
So you
much
can like
more.
terraform your island. Like
Yeah,
if you were
terraform, that's the
like
word.
if you were like, man, it like this is super nice, but it'd be really nice if I had like a creek running through the
Mhm.
orchard. I'm assuming you have to path that water from somewhere. You can't just make water, right?
No, you can. You can just
Oh,
make water.
so you can like you just be like, oh, I want a little pond here, and I want it to lead to
Hmm.
here, and then you can just have so you can really like idealize whatever you want. That's cool.
Yeah,
That's
it
super
is
cool.
so cool.
Now,
Um,
with the pathing, is it like flat textures, or can you do things like brick, or like how does that?
you can do brick, cobblestone, sand, dirt. I think there's another, but those are the only ones that I've really bothered with.
That's fair.
So, and then I also have downloaded my own. That's a different shade of brick
Okay.
that somebody else made that I really liked. And all of it is so cool, but you can only do one at a time, and you're really not 100% sure which square you're about to paint until after you paint it, which means sometimes you can erase the previous one on accident because you're not
So is
quite far
it?
enough forward.
Oh, so like
Or
there,
you're
it's
not,
not. It
yeah.
doesn't snap to as you're
Mm-mm.
like putting it down. You have to like just know like, oh, I've taken 3 steps forward, and that's the length I need to go to like put that down.
Yep. And they'll snap together. Like once you
Okay.
put one down, they'll snap together. Um,
So
but
I guess is it most important to get that initial placement?
um,
If they snap too, like I'm
well,
just trying to wrap my because I don't have a lot of experience,
yeah.
so I'm trying to like picture it.
It's sort of like, so there's squares, and you can stand in the center of the square or the side of the square. You don't actually see the grid. You don't see what the square is. You just know kind of that there are
Oh,
squares and where they are.
that's
So if you're standing only halfway through the square and you really need to go just a little bit more in order to get to the next square, sometimes it'll move back and erase it rather than moving forward and painting a new one. Does that make sense?
yeah, okay. That definitely sounds like something they could probably like a quality of life change. Like if you could see like before you placed it, like this is
Hmm.
gonna take up this next area, or you could see if you were gonna overwrite a previous area.
Hmm.
I imagine that's probably also a difficulty if like you decide you want to change your paths. Like if you
Hmm.
have like all brick initially and you're like, I don't know, I'm kind of feeling cobblestone now. That's probably a lot of work to like go back and change.
Hmm. Ton of work. But one thing that would fix it a lot is, have you played Stardew? Stardew Valley.
I've not played Stardew Valley, but I have watched Stardew Valley. So,
Uh,
a Destiny content creator that I really like, his name is Ain't Pro.
hmm.
And he plays, I've seen him play on 2 or 3 different occasions with another streamer, Ariana Granger, um, playing Stardew Valley.
Hmm.
And I mean, it's a super, like, for those types of games, I don't mind watching them. Like, it's super relaxing to watch them being played. But I did not enjoy playing it myself. I had more
That makes
fun,
sense.
like, as a spectator, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely makes sense. Yeah. Um, well, whenever you're watering your plants,
Hmm.
it's like whenever you have just the basic one, you just water in front. But um, as you upgrade your watering can, you can go farther and farther. So with how it works is if you press it once, if you have the highest upgrade, if you press it once, it'll just water the one in front of you. If you hold
Okay.
it down, it'll extend to 3 and then to 5. I think those are the numbers.
And
Admittedly, I've
is that
not upgraded it
linear
that far.
or in a radius?
It's linear, right in
Okay.
front of you.
So you
So
like as you're
honestly,
doing your flower beds, you like go to the end and like you now when you build in your playthroughs of the game, do you structure a lot of like your flower beds or anything like that around the limitations of that can so that you can easily get to everything?
um, I would if I picked it up again. Admittedly, I really didn't get even through the
That's
first
fair.
year of the game, so
That's
I
fair.
I like the game, but I just I didn't have as much fun with it playing single player, and I could never play or have enough people to do multiplayer regularly. So
Well, just so that you know, if you're looking to get back into it at any point, we have a fair amount of people on my Discord that I can introduce you to that 100% play it, like fervently.
fantastic.
um, so rounding out the Animal Crossing
Go
Animal
back.
Crossing news, I don't know that this is not current news, but
Hmm.
we had talked a little bit about like what we wanted to talk about today, and so I did a little bit of googling on Animal Crossing, and I found PETA on their website has an official guide to how to play Animal Crossing in a way that is vegan friendly and vegan conscious. Uh, so, is fishing in Animal Crossing vegan? It is not. You should not be fishing. It's not okay to catch bugs in Animal Crossing.
Basically, half of the museum.
You should not let Blathers build his museum.
What about the fossils?
Um, don't farm clams. Make sure that you're leaving all hermit crabs alone. Um, you can't eat dessert if it's not just a fruit. When you eat it, wait, is that a mechanic? When you eat enough fruit, you actually become strong enough to shatter rocks and receive extra bells and resources from them.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So I guess if you're playing Animal Crossing as a vegan, um, I eat fruit or I guess steal fruit from other people's islands, because that's probably a significant upkeep. And and oh, don't get a doghouse. That's not good. Tom Nook is 100% exploiting you. Um.
I mean, yes and no.
Oh, Harvey. Evidently, Harvey is a hippie vegan dog.
Yes, I did know that.
Dogs can't be vegan. That's not good for
Uh,
dogs.
no. But it's a video game.
That's fair. Um,
Isabel
Isabel might be
is
vegan.
okay. I
Is the
haven't I
answer.
haven't seen her eat a whole lot of stuff.
It sounds like you should not like as friendly and wholesome of a game as it is. Maybe just don't like. That's probably just not something to play.
Yeah, maybe you
Um,
shouldn't play as a vegan. You're
speaking
completely taking up the ecosystem if you terraform your island at all. And
is
you know,
terraforming not vegan?
well,
Oh my
you're
goodness, that's a
destroying the
whole that's a whole
ecosystem, of
that's a
course.
whole can of worms. We're gonna move past that.
Sounds good.
Speaking of moving past that, it's not something we want to spend a lot of time today talking about. But speaking of developers and being conscious, and like you were saying, Animal Crossing was listening to their community.
Hmm.
Final Fantasy is listening to their community as they're updating the game, and there are two new classes coming to Final Fantasy and Endwalker. There is I think the Reaper class, which is some sort of tank, and there is the Sage, which is a healer.
Hmm.
And some fans had come forward with concerns of trypophobia, which is a fear of small batches of holes in an item, which I had not heard of prior to hearing about this. But the
Really?
developer literally looked at it and went like, "Oh, hey, yeah, not a problem. We'll change the icon," and then they did change the icon. What's your opinion of that? Like as far as like how quickly the developer responded to that?
Honestly, like that's impressive that they were actually listening to it and they fix it. It's such a small thing. And
Mhm.
most companies, most people wouldn't bother fixing something like that because it's like it is such a minor thing and
Yeah,
really you don't even like I wouldn't say I have tryptophobia. I definitely am uncomfortable with a lot of things that have a lot of holes. I don't
like
like it
colanders.
per se. No, not like colanders. I can't I can't think of
I don't want to put
like
you on the spot. I'm
no,
wondering
I
like
can't think of there's a specific plant that makes me super uncomfortable that is just like a bunch of little black holes.
a macro
It
shot of
almost
like a strawberry.
I don't know if I've ever seen a macro shot of a strawberry.
If that bothers you, I wouldn't look it up.
Okay, I won't. Like that, while I don't while it doesn't particularly bother me because it's only like 4 holes, I understand with someone with true tryptophobia how they would be super uncomfortable with it. I completely
I
understand.
I think it's interesting how because it's a really fair point that you brought up. How like it's like I don't know what the statistics are on people that suffer from trypophobia, but I imagine it's not that many people, and like a lot of companies will go like, that's there's not enough return on investment to develop or to worry about it.
Mhm.
But they had to pay someone to update that, you know what I mean, and
Yeah.
update it across all sources. So they either have a really streamlined workflow or like they're willing to go like, hey, we want to be as inclusive as possible. I think that's really really good. I'm super happy to see that like from them.
Yeah. Agreed.
In the direct quote
Especially
from
with like
them,
how much their stuff is growing now because everyone's going
absolutely,
to Final Fantasy
absolutely,
14.
it's blowing up. It's blowing
Mhm.
up. The direct quote from them is the design concept is unchanged, with the icon being based on the four Noliths, Noliths, Nouliths, Nowliths.
Where is the
I have pronounced that three
word?
different ways, and I don't know that any of them are right.
Oh, there it is.
No, no, enough. Like should we pronounce like enough?
I'm
New,
gonna go with
Newliths.
no liths. That's
No.
what I
Okay.
would pronounce it.
I don't want to get hung up on that. With the icon being based on the four Noliths, which form the Sage's armament, the holes in the original design were added for detail, but they ended up appearing as a cluster. To address the problem, the new icon reduces the holes while accentuating the design concept. Now comparisons will inevitably be made, and some of you may prefer the original, but we believe that the designs like this are things that grow on as you play the job, and we ask for your understanding as we head into Endwalker. So it's for them to expect controversy over
Mhm.
changing the design. What is
There will of
internet culture?
course be there will of course be angry people for changing this
I'm
design.
gonna I'm gonna
But
have to look that I'm gonna have to look that up later and see what the because this as anything that I have seen has been like relatively positive reporting on this. I have not
Mhm.
experienced a side of the internet that is like vehemently against this change, but now I'm gonna have to look to see if it's out there.
Oh, I'm sure there's minimum 10 people in the world who are ticked off at this. I
So
don't
many,
know who those 10 people are, but they are just determined to be ticked off at this.
so very angry.
Of course.
So I know that you yesterday were you were popping in stream in and out.
Mhm.
But did you see any of the gameplay that we had for Back for Blood?
Admittedly, I did not. I was at the same time watching some videos having to do
Absolutely.
with the whole Blizzard thing.
I'm glad you did.
So,
That'll
yeah.
that'll be helpful super later. or super helpful a little bit later.
Yeah.
Not super later.
Hopefully not super later.
No, no. So Back for Blood. Did you ever play Left 4 Dead when you were younger?
Uh, I did not. I am bad with anything scary. I don't do the
What's not
scary things
scary?
very well.
There's that. It's not wide. I got a little spooked. Like at one point yesterday, like a small jump scare. It's very small. I yelled a little bit. It's fine. Um, it's not like, but it's just meant to be like a fast paced like team functionality. Everyone like has their jobs, and you go through and you clear level point A to point B. Um, so some changes that they've made. So this is like a spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead, and
Okay.
a lot of the original concept is still there. You still have the killing zombies from point A to point B, safe house to safe house, and when you get to the safe house, you can replenish your supplies, get new weapons, stuff like that, right? Um, One of the changes that they made to bring the game a little more current is that they introduced um, a card system, and so you can have a deck of cards on you, and those cards will give you boons throughout your playthrough. And you have a deck, so you get to choose 15 cards out of all the cards you unlock. You get to choose 15 to have in a deck, and then that is essentially what your build crafting is. And as you complete different areas, you get to select a different card. It'll give you like an option of five, and you can choose one of those five to take with you into the next run. And they're cumulative as you go through. So you'll get one card first for the first section, two cards for the so on and so forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then every section will have corruption cards, which are little modifiers that are meant to randomize the encounters. So you might have like heavy fog, or you might have like an extra objective that you need to do as you're going through. And then there are currently 3 tiers for difficulty. There's I don't remember what the hardest one is called Nightmare. Um, So I played with Silverbolt underscore R yesterday, and we played through the entire beta on the easiest difficulty setting yesterday. And there were still points on the easiest difficulty setting where we're like, this is kind of tough. Um, and then I was like, well, if that was the easiest, like, how hard can the hardest one be? We literally almost got wiped on the first, like, the spawn room. The zombies came into the first, like, you can't get any earlier in the game than that. We were in the initial room, and they almost, like, literally almost team wiped us, and we were like, oh wow, we made it a little further than that, and we literally got team wiped. We did not make it to the first safe house on Nightmare. So then we came back to the drawing board. Lightsaber, I think, had gotten home shortly there before and had hopped on, and so we did medium. We still didn't complete medium. We made it, I think, we made it to the first safe house. We did not make it to the second safe house on medium. So, like, the fact that there is that difficulty curve feels good. Like, for the play. Like, we were like, going through this swamp, like, SEAL Team 6, like, crouched down, like, calling out. Because in the harder difficulties, there's friendly fire. On the easiest one, there's no friendly fire. So you spray everywhere, it doesn't matter, like, you're not going to hurt your teammates. But we kept having this thing happen where, like, the aim assist is very aggressive. So a zombie would be running by, and it would pull your cursor, and you just shoot your friend in the head, and be like, oh god, I'm so sorry. Like, I definitely did that a couple times. I know Silver did that a couple times, and I know Lightsaber did that a couple. It would just be like, oh, sorry. Moved you a little bit there. But it's super fun to play with friends. Like, that game is definitely something that'll be fun to play with friends, and I like that they randomize each encounter. So just because like you can get they call it a toolkit, but it's essentially a lockpick, right? That can open
Mhm.
like certain containers or like a door through the level, and they're single use. So if you take that with you and you use it like on a door, you don't have that item anymore, right? So you might need, like, say you're playing with 4 people, maybe 2 people need to have a toolkit on them to open that stuff, because there's extra loot, maybe extra
Mhm.
weapons or extra currency or something like that in those rooms. So they're definitely almost always worth opening. Um, but I'm definitely looking forward to digging into that and seeing, what that looks like. So far, as I understand it, they're not going to monetize that card system, which I'm glad for because I think that'd be a
Yeah.
mistake.
Yeah.
Because if you had like, hey, if you want to unlock cards, you can pay like $20 to unlock like several packs of cards. Like, there's gonna be people that just pay for, like, that's the
Hundreds.
game's content, right? They're gonna pay for
Yeah.
that,
Pay to win.
blow it, and then go like, where's all the content? Well, you purchased like 30 levels ahead. But as you complete levels, you earn supply credits, and then you spend those supply credits at the supply line, and that's how you unlock the cards.
Okay.
And not everything is cards. Like, some of it is cosmetics. Like, you'll get different, like, similar to Call of Duty, like, you have banners and an emblem and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll show, like, at the start screen. And so it's neat that you can do that kind of stuff, too. Do you have any interest in playing that game with Silverbolt, Lightsaber, and I? Because we do need a fourth.
I'd be willing to try it. However, you say it's not scary. Um, but like I think it was about 5 years ago now that I was playing Minecraft, and I was struggling with playing
Minecraft is
it
terrifying.
because
Let's not mince
the,
words. There's nothing
the noise.
scarier than a creeper behind you in a cave.
Well,
You're
it
mining
wasn't.
diamonds, minding your business, and you hear, psst. You turn around and you're like, oh,
But it was the zombie noises.
oh,
Like,
the
I
like,
knew that the zombie was in an area on the other side of the wall. There was no way it was getting to me. There was no zombie anywhere near me. But the zombies' noises were almost more than I could take. Like,
there
I
definitely
don't
are
just
zombie noises. That's super
yes.
fair. So the zombies are
Um,
definitely like, ah, and then like some of them are like, but like a lot of it is meant to be more like runny gunny and more
yeah,
actiony rather than terror. Because like
yeah. No, I get
Wrath
that.
and I both like horror games. Like, I'm super excited for Dead Space coming out later this year.
Hmm.
I am when the first Dead Space came out, like, I was a teenager, and like my friend and I playing that like in the dark, like we were playing like side by side on two different
Yeah.
TVs, and like playing that game like in the dark, bruh, no shame to admit that fear, abject fear. Um, it'd be interesting to dive into that though. I only got jump scared one time yesterday, like one like for realsies jump scare.
I'd
Silver was
be
like,
I'd be willing to give it a shot.
yeah, I think Silver was saying Samuraiser would really like it. Um,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Samuraiser was watching for a little bit yesterday. I don't know if he got a code. I hope he did, because if he would like to play it, like anyone that can get one, like right now, just so well, I mean, by the time you guys have seen this, I think maybe the open beta will be out. I don't know. Look for it. It's pretty fun right now. Um, now, uh, moving forward, and our primary reason for asking the wonderful Daminagames to join us here today has been some of the news coming through with Activision and Blizzard, and Rathagen and I have been covering it. But representation, when you're talking about these kinds of topics, especially sensitive topics, is important. And listening to two men on the internet talk about how a game developer has been mistreating its female developers and employees is more than a little tone deaf. And Rathagen and I 100% admit that. So thank you to Daminagames for joining us today to talk about this stuff. Now, recapping very briefly, the state of California has brought a lawsuit against Activision Blizzard against their alleged misconduct and negligence, where it involves working conditions that the female employees there at the company or employees in general have had to deal with. And there are a variety of allegations, and we've touched on that in previous episodes, so we're not going to go into the specifics of that right now. We more are focused today on the potential legal ramifications from both sides of that argument and some of the tangible responses that Activision Blizzard have had up to this point. Um, and so, with that said, I'm going to turn over the floor to Danima, and she is going to give us a breakdown of some of the legality of that situation and what that might mean for the studio. So, without
Okay.
further ado.
All right. So I did a lot of research on really trying to focus on the legality of it. Partly because anything that wasn't like official legal stuff, it was all focusing on like women being assaulted, and it's all opinionated from specifically male YouTubers. Like that's a lot of the more popular things that I could find on on just the internet. Just very shallow research. So I swapped to looking for specifically commentary from one particular lawyer called Hogue Law.
Oh, I
And
watched one of her videos.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So Hogue Law was the one that I actually got most of my legal information from. And um, part of the reason why I really wanted to do that was because there's no such thing as like if you look at literature, you have flat characters and round characters. There's no such thing as a flat character in real life. It's not a video game. It's not literature. It's real life. Everybody has their own thoughts, feelings, and background. Now, the backstory doesn't justify what happens, but it can explain why things happen. Obviously, I don't know the horrifying backstory to all of these bad people, but I do know there are some actual issues with both sides in what they're saying legally. The best example is when it talks about the Cosby suite. Did you hear about the Cosby suite?
Yeah. So I wanna offer some
Hmm.
clarification on some stuff that I
Okay.
said in a previous episode. So I had said that the photo was from before his trial, subsequent conviction, and now he's since been released from prison somehow. Separate from all that, it was public knowledge that he had allegations in the past when this photo of them deifying, I guess,
Hmm.
him and his behavior. Um, it is not a large step to interpret what they were deifying in his behavior. I want to make that clear because I said previously that he had not yet been arrested, and while that is true, he had not yet been arrested as of that photo, being taken.
Hmm.
Um, it was common knowledge that there were definitely some non kosher things coming from him at that point.
It was common knowledge, but also not common enough that it's believable that they didn't know anything about those allegations. It is possible and believable, but basically the whole point of that is it's not quite as solid proof as the California government was trying to make it.
So
Um,
the explanation I had read from them was that they were saying the hotel room had an ugly carpet or something or another, and it reminded them of like a Bill Cosby sweater, and that's what the picture was about. Now,
yep.
personally, I think that's a lot of baloney. But that's the I'm sorry, pardon me. That's the argument in defense that they're making.
Mhm. And while it's not a it's not the best defense, it's also not the best attack either, in all honesty. And one thing with the all these allegations is all the commentary that people are giving, it's a lot about the harassment charges. But in the actual allegations, in the actual attack, it's not starting with the harassment. It's actually starting and is focusing on a lot of the unequal pay and unequal treatment that they're giving to the women.
Well, do you think that's because of because of the actual proof and documentation that they're able to get on that? Do you think they leaned on that primarily because that's where they can have a body of evidence to support that claim?
Yes and no. The reason I say that is because um, a lot of their allegations aren't really that solid either with concerning the unequal pay, because there are so many different things that can go into it, such as um, they're saying that people in higher positions are the women aren't being paid as much, but they're also different positions. Like they might both be in charge of their departments, but they're different departments, and those are the arguments that Blizzard could make towards it. That doesn't change the fact that typically, even women in higher positions, even when they're still paid typically half the amount that men
That,
are. Not quite half, a little bit over half, but it's still around there that
but
the
it's
men are
that
paid.
disproportionate. Oh wow,
Yeah,
wow,
no,
I was not.
it's something like 13,000 versus 8,000 or 6,000. Like
That's
it's
wow.
yeah, it's
That's
it's
unacceptable regardless,
yeah,
but like Jesus. I didn't
and
realize the disparity was that much.
and then there's just things like women being passed up for positions when we technically don't really have enough information to determine that she was just as qualified for it as he was.
So there was in the initial report and like news circulation, there was a report from one woman in particular in the marketing department,
Mhm.
and she had basically said, you know, within my marketing campaigns, like by the and this is all alleged. This is for all intents and purposes, this is hearsay. This is us talking about what we've read other people
Yes.
say. But she had said that basically, like within her department, in the marketing department, her marketing campaigns were twice as effective as those of her male counterparts, and performed twice as well from a revenue based standpoint as her male counterpart. And regardless of that, that her male counterpart had been given one-on-one meetings with I think the vice president, had been given a larger bonus, and then eventually promoted,
Mhm.
above her, despite, for all intents and purposes, her being more qualified for that position.
Yes, and that's one of the things that I think will probably be the best thing that they have against them in that particular area and that particular topic. Is that's the thing that they have best against Blizzard. Um, there's also, oh gosh dang it, I forgot. There's another another thing I was putting up bringing up, and I totally forgot what it was. Um,
That's okay. If it comes back to you, just flag it later, and we can circle right back to that. Um, so talking about because you brought up a good point earlier, and you were saying not enough, too much of the coverage right now is coming from men voicing their opinions on this topic, and I that's definitely one of the issues, right? Where it's good to voice your concerns, and it's good to speak out against this, but for actionable change, and for I guess like what's the best way to put, like a roadmap forward, as it
mhm.
were, right? Um, we should really be listening to the folks that these things are impacting. And a reporter that, like, I get my like gaming news from a couple different sources, like Jason Schreier, Alanah Pearce, and I can't think of it. I can't think of his name. He covers a lot of Destiny. I follow him on Twitter regardless. But Alanah Pearce had a video that she talked about recently, where she talked about, well, what's the best way to respond to this? Because as a consumer, like obviously I'm not a developer, and I put out content on the internet, but that's really me playing games and talking about games, right? I'm not creating the games. Um, and what's the best way for us as consumers to respond to this? And I had said in a previous episode, and I want to amend that statement with a new perspective given from the video we're getting ready to watch, where I'd said, well, like with the new Diablo 2 coming out, I don't know if I want to purchase that, or the remake for Diablo 2 and then eventually Diablo 4 coming out. I'm really big on that franchise. I really like the Diablo franchise games, but it's a double-edged sword because I don't like what I'm hearing is coming from this developer, right? Like I
Mhm.
really don't like some of the things that I'm hearing, that they're engaging in and allowing to go on. And so as a consumer, how do I respond? Like if I purchase that product, am I turning a blind eye to that behavior? But and on that same coin, on the other side of it, not purchasing that product isn't hurting the corporate executives at Activision Blizzard. It's hurting the developers at the company who unfortunately just work there and love what they do and love the games that they make, but then potentially hurt them. Because for those developers, say they want to move on to another studio, their resume is based around the games they make and then the success of those games. And so if they have a game that is, even if it's a great game, but it flops, with consumers, because of all this, those developers could get stuck at Activision Blizzard because they can't get jobs paying what they make there at other studios.
Mhm.
What do you think about that?
There is not a scenario, I think, where things are fixed at Blizzard, where there's innocents are not going to be harmed in some way. There's going to be people who are not a part of this, who are maybe even victims of this. They're going to be harmed in some way or another. I don't think it's possible to get around that. That being said, um, if the developers start looking to get jobs at another business, one, I think because of everything that's going on at Blizzard now, they're still going to have a lot of background checks and go through. It's going to be a lot more difficult for them to get jobs at other places if
We
the
had talked
jobs
about that actually just last episode.
are
Um,
really.
yeah, well, so Wrath and I both have had leadership positions in a big box retailer here in the US. And so we've had to make hiring decisions, firing decisions, all that. Like we've been on that side. And when you're like as another developer, right? Say you have these Blizzard employees that are good developers but want to go to other developers with this stuff coming out, with all of these allegations and reports of what's been happening there, it's going to be hard for those developers to move on to other studios because those other studios might not want to take the liability of bringing someone that could potentially be one of the people, responsible. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um but I had said, like as consumers, we need to speak with our wallets and you can't, financially pledge money, to the company if that's going to be like their behavior. And I don't think that now is the right thing. And really quickly, if you're okay with it, I'm going to play a very brief section of a video. Um, and this is from
Got a
Alanah
comment on face, that's
Pierce's
fine.
uh,
Who needs to see that?
YouTube channel. And she's
Okay,
reading
so this
off
tweet is from
some
July
tweets
26th.
from Tammy
It
Sigmund.
says, on one hand, I completely understand why people would want to spend their money elsewhere rather than support a company that doesn't align with their morals. On the other hand, it's a really bad feeling for those of us women who still work and fight daily at said
Can you
company.
hear this?
When people
Nope.
don't spend money on our games,
Okay.
it affects my profit sharing and what my bonus
Can-
percentage is. The impact of this
I'll give
lawsuit
you
might
I'll give
mean
you the
that in March,
TLDR
when my
once she's
newborn
done
goes
reading
to
through them.
full-time childcare and
Okay,
then
that's fine.
maternity leave ends, I might not get the bonus I need to pay for that childcare. Anyway, not telling anyone how to spend your money, just hoping that maybe the folks should change their phrasing from out of support for the women at Blizzard to something else, because as a pregnant woman at Blizz, it would not feel supportive to lose my income. It feels
I
Oh
like
my
to focus
goodness.
on something that stands out to me, whether that's
Bro.
a certain shadow, a figure.
I
in the
watched the
It's
ad
a bit
before.
different than, say, avoiding shopping at Hobby Lobby
Sorry
or
about that,
eating at
guys.
Chick-fil-A, because most of us who signed up to join Blizzard had no idea it would be like this, since it's so misaligned with the company values we project. I know I personally thought we'd be a lot more removed from Activision, and I also didn't know that our parent company would be hiring so many right-wing senior executives, but here we are. And of course, the disclaimer, my tweets do not represent my employer, and their views and recent public statements do not represent me in what I believe. So there are several tweets that are like this, and this one's just a good example because I feel like she's speaking about something that affects her very personally or financially, which is effectively, if you boycott Activision Blizzard games, even with the thought process of, oh, but if there's no money change, then they won't change anything, a lawsuit's going to cost them a lot of money and their stocks have dropped. And I still understand the validity of that argument anyway, while thinking that it probably won't make a difference and they will find other ways to make money. But I still understand the validity of it. The truth is, though, that it negatively impacts developers. It can lead to layoffs as well, of course. But, as she said there firsthand, it can impact bonuses. It can stop them from earning money. And it also, and this is the thing that I've had a lot of conversations with people in the industry about. I spoke to people at Naughty Dog about this quite extensively when people were saying to boycott The Last of Us Part 2 due to crunch in the studio. When you work at one of these companies and there's any kind of culture issue or the environment sucks, the people who say just quit are clearly not understanding that you work there because you actually love your job. You love what you...
So, TLDR, Alanah read some tweets from a developer that's currently at Blizzard. A pregnant developer, or a developer that was pregnant, has since had child, and is looking to the bonuses that she's going to receive for game performance to help pay for her child care. And is saying basically that when you boycott the game, the developers are the ones that are going to be paying the price. And then after the tweet, basically Alanah's going on to say the same thing. Like the stock prices dropped. The executives are feeling the ramifications of this from their shareholders. But basically, not enough people are going to boycott the game to make a different. Like, there's still going to be enough people playing the game that Activision Blizzard is going to make what they need to make from that, right? And that it is only going to negatively impact the developers. What is your take on that double-edged sword?
In all honesty, I feel like there's almost not a right decision.
Yeah, it's
Somebody's
like a
gonna get
damned if you
hurt,
do or damned if you don't.
essentially. And that's kind of just how life works, because life sucks. In all honesty, though, as much as I really want to say I don't want to buy any of their games, I don't want to play any of their games, I think that whether we play the games or not, in reality, that because this came to light and because there's an actual lawsuit that's starting to go down here, I think that more than likely those stuff are going to be taken care of, whether we play the games or not. So as much as I don't want to support the company, I too would really like to play Diablo.
And I've played most of Blizzard's lineup, like classic. The first video game that wasn't a handheld video game that I ever played, or one of the first, was the original Diablo. Like my dad had been playing it, and I was tiny. I was
Yo baby son, bro.
yeah. I was just like barely able to walk and talk. You know what I mean? No, I was probably a little older than that. I was like maybe like 5 or 6, but like saw my dad like playing this game, and I was like, Dad, what are you playing? He was like, Diablo. And I was like, what is it? And he was like, you go and you click things, and like I got to play a little bit with him, right? And so for me, that's a good memory, and it's unfortunate that like a good memory like that has the tarnish of what may have been going on at the company, you know, both at the time and then, you know, moving forward in the future. But I've also played World of Warcraft. I've played all the Diablos. I've played their RTSs. I played a lot of the Warcraft RTS. I played a little bit of StarCraft, but I didn't like that as much. And I played a ton of Overwatch too. So I've played and consumed a lot of that content, and you know, like there's guilt like in supporting, like in not trying to look into, you know, what that developer is doing or was doing, or you know, like what may have been going on previous to. It's weird. It's weird to see like something that I have so many good memories of that also has like this tarnish is really, I think, the best word that I can use there.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't think it's something that they'll ever be able to recover from as far as reputation goes.
well, they've definitely dropped like in reputation in the last couple of years. Like
Yeah.
when we were growing up, Blizzard was the golden goose for gaming. Like that was their public perception, is that they were known for putting out like top quality games. Like if it was a Blizzard game, you knew it was going to be good, and that just has not been the case, right? In
Mobile.
recent years. What was that?
Diablo Mobile.
Do you all not have phones? Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. I watched that interview and it was just so great.
Like the guy that's like, is this an out of season April Fool's joke?
And then
Like-
everyone cheering, nobody in the crowd seemed to be like disagree with that comment.
They took an L on that one.
Oh my gosh.
They definitely took an L on that one. So shortly after some of this news came to light, some of the executives at Blizzard, you know, they have their own social media and they have their own opinions. And one woman, a corporate executive at Activision, spoke out. And this is Frances Townsend that I'm speaking about specifically. But she tweeted out an article on Twitter that was titled "The Problem with Whistleblowing." Basically calling out the people who have come forward, you know, with these allegations and stories of what the work culture has been like, essentially saying like these people are being tattletales, which is the wrong vibe for this situation.
Oh, no. Much wow.
Like that's such okay, and this is not a lady who has not had to like stand up to, you know, to the fire of public opinion. Townsend was so she was criticized for her defense of the Bush administration's enhanced interrogation techniques. This is a lady that stood up for torture.
Yeah.
In the public forum. But the response to her tweet from gamers was so much that she has since deleted her Twitter since that tweet. And let me go ahead and do this a little pull up. Okay, so she has deleted that tweet since. She's deleted her Twitter. She's deactivated the account. You can no longer go and view them. And then IGN is reporting that she has stepped down as an executive sponsor for the ABK Women's Network as of 2 weeks ago. The embattled corporate executive has been criticized by employees within the company for several missteps following the lawsuit against Activision Blizzard. Townsend is no longer the executive sponsor of the ABK Women's Network, a group for women employees at Activision Blizzard King, However, Townsend is still employed at Activision Blizzard. Now, if she was the head of the organization, meant to like give fair representation to women at that company, do you think maybe we may have made a misstep with who we were assigning that role?
I don't think Blizzard wanted somebody who was appropriate for the role. In all honesty. Because if they're defending themselves, they want somebody on their side, and she's on the side of the one that's paying her, so,
That's super fair. That's so.
Yes and no, depending on who you ask.
So from they wanted her there, but not as an advocate, is what you're saying.
What's frustrating about the whistleblowing tweet is that sort of thing, that's not new. There have been hundreds and thousands of articles that have said that women shouldn't report like any sort of sexual harassment at work because it damages the workplace environment. I'm sorry, who is it damaging to?
Yeah. So one of the other things, and I don't know if you saw it, but Bobby Kotick, he's the CEO of Activision Blizzard. Like he's the top of the chain, right?
Yeah.
He released a public statement, basically detailing what their action points were going to be moving forward. And a lot of it was fluff. We've seen some stuff come to action, like in the public light, and I don't know what they're doing in the background. But one of the things that he said was that they have brought through a law firm, WilmerHale, to address their current policies and, advise on future policies. That's what his direct quote was. But that law firm, WilmerHale, is known for being a union-busting law firm, an anti-union law firm. So they, at this point, are taking active steps against their employees unionizing. In that, yeah, I can see it on your face. That's kind of gross, isn't it? That's like super gross behavior. Like,
I hate it.
yeah, it's really not good. Like, nothing that they're doing right now in the, and I don't know how their court case is going, or if it's even started yet, but nothing that they're doing in the public light, none of the responses so far have been, like, good responses that I've been like, thank you for it, because the only appropriate response to this situation is directly addressing what the concern was, and directly addressing what you were doing to fix it right here and right now, and what you're implementing so that that doesn't happen. And regardless of his public statement with action points, I don't think that has happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that we've seen to current is that the leader of Blizzard, so the guy at the top of Blizzard within Activision Blizzard total, J. Allen Brack, has stepped down. He is being replaced by two Blizzard executives, Jen O'Neill and Mike Ybarra, who will be co-leaders of the studio, Activision said in a statement. Mr. Brack was mentioned in the lawsuit as an executive who failed to take effective remedial measures when sexual harassment and discrimination complaints were brought to him. So it looks like all the way at the top of the food chain, potentially this could have been an issue. And clearly with allegations as widespread, it'd be different if they were pocket allegations. With as much as come out, it's clearly a culture problem, right?
Oh, absolutely. The thing, trying to get the factual evidence in like their reports and whatnot, saying that it's a cultural problem, because women stopped reporting it to HR once their reports were being leaked to the guys that were friends with HR who they were reporting. And then the women got backlash from the guys who they reported. That was actually happening.
So with with this change as well, it's saying that with Mr. Breck's departure, Mr. Kotick has also an opportunity to cement control over Blizzard. For years after the merger with Activision, Blizzard has had its own chief executive, Mike Morhaime. When Mr. Breck succeeded Mr. Morhaime as the head of Blizzard in 2018, he had the title of president, but not chief executive. Now, neither Miss O'Neill nor Mr. Ybarra will get the title of president. It's another attempt to try to get ahead of this wave of negative news. Doug Kreutz, the senior video game analyst at Cowen, said of the leadership changes, "I think it's certainly the case that the Activision corporate intends to exert more oversight over Blizzard than they have in the past." Activision declined to make Mr. Kotick, Mr. Breck, or other executives available for interviews. In a statement, Activision said that it had become clear to Mr. Breck and other executives that Blizzard needed a new direction in leadership given the critical work ahead. Mr. Breck was leaving to pursue new opportunities. Activision also said that Ms. O'Neill and Mr. Ybarra were committed to work ahead to ensure Blizzard is the safest, most welcoming workplace possible. Ms. O'Neill started at Blizzard in January as Executive Vice President of Development, while Mr. Ybarra joined in 2019 as the Executive Vice President and General Manager of Platform and Technology.
Sounds like Activision is kind of forcing them a little bit to
It
start
definitely
making
sounds like that.
some changes in the right direction.
Well,
And I can't tell if that's just like them saying, we need at least one woman in a very powerful position. So we're taking this one who's already in a higher position, putting her up there. Or if this is like something they interviewed her and they actually think she's going to be good here.
I really hope that's the case, but with neither of them being given the title of president, it seems really figureheady. You know what I mean? Like because I'm not a fan of Bobby Kotick. That man, literally has made so much money off of Activision's anti-consumer practices that it's insane. Like hundreds of millions of dollars. He is making so much more money than like the employees that are running his games, and like all of this stuff is still happening under his watch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to see like if Mr. Breck was complicit, or at the very least even negligent of some of the things that had been going on allegedly. He needed to go, but he was not the cause of like all of those issues, right? Like he's not solely the cause of any one thing going on. So there needs to be some real change in what's happening there. And definitely, like, I think the public is going to need to see that real change being enacted.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like if change happens within this next year, like actual change is like they're actually putting steps forward towards good things, then we don't, like, no boycotting needs to happen. It needs to just be like, as long as the change is happening, then that's what matters.
Yeah.
If they're
absolutely.
just to continue to cover things up, then as much as I don't want to hurt the people who are actually innocent, that can't be a company anymore.
That's super fair.
Taken down.
One of my concerns is that they are trying to go the route of just outlasting the spotlight, as companies are wont to do. You know, when they get a little bit of negative press, they just try to wait out how long that negativity is lasting for, right? Yeah. Rather than actually addressing the concern, they just try to wait for whatever the next issue is to come up. And I'm really hoping that for the employees and the developers at Activision Blizzard that some resolution can come to this and that some real change can be enacted, because it's not appropriate to have to go to work and to have to deal with that, right? Like, that's not okay. You should never be fearful of like going to work, or like worried what Bob in accounting is going to be saying, or regardless, like obviously Bob in accounting is a fictitious character. I have no idea if Bob in accounting works at Activision Blizzard. Bob, if you do work at Activision Blizzard, I'm super sorry to bring your name into this. I don't know if you've done anything wrong. I hope you haven't.
Just say John Doe. It's the
That's better. That's better. Thank you. Um, but do you have any other? Oh, I also want to correct. I introduced my gracious co-host today as Danima. It is Daminagames is her full tag online, and her socials and her Twitch will be linked in the description at the bottom of this episode. So please, guys, hop over to her Twitch channel, drop her a follow, and stick around for the content because it's always S tier. Danima, do you want to take us out for the day?
Sure. This has been a lot of fun to come into this. I've never been part of a maybe I shouldn't. Oh my gosh. I've never been a part of a podcast before. And so this has been really interesting to do for the first time. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. All right.
We'll see you back next week.
Yeah. Bye, guys.